against.
Okay, buy insurance against catastrophe. But how?
You price CO2, you price carbon dioxide.
You put a price on it.
That's the insurance premium, right? For every ton of CO2 we are emitting today, we cause at least about $40 worth of damages. When I bought a cross-country flight to San Francisco and back, I emit about 1 ton of CO2. I personally, not the plane, just me personally. Meanwhile, I don't pay for that.
So you want the airline to charge an extra $40 on your ticket?
I want the government to put a price on CO2 that everybody pays in order to set the right incentives.
But there isn't broad public support for taxing emissions. Meanwhile, a cheap but controversial solution of last resort has emerged. A so-called geo-engineering technique called solar radiation management, shooting particles into the sky to reflect sunlight back into space. Harvard environmental scientist David Keith.
The central idea is to make the planet a little bit more reflective, which tends to cool it down because it will absorb less sunlight. And that will partially and imperfectly compensate for the buildup of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, which are tending to trap heat and make the Earth warmer.
Nature ran the experiment in 1991, when the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines lofted a 20 million ton sulfur dioxide cloud into the stratosphere, lowering global temperatures by a full degree Fahrenheit for 2 years. And mimicking the volcano's effect by spraying sulfates is relatively cheap, says Wagner.
It's somewhere between $1 and $10 billion to literally fly like Learjets 24/7, enough of them to decrease global average temperatures back to where they were pre-industrial times.
But if the clear and future danger of climate change is some chance of calamity, what could sulfur particles in the stratosphere
David Keith
do?
said 1% of the GDP, we could start a freaking
train that circles the globe with the last
actual ice age. Watch one of my other videos. He says it. Less than 1% of the GDP could start an ice age. It's that cheap. We have that much leverage. And as far as a rogue,
Weitzman and Wagner have their own scarce.
Here, you know, Goldfinger, a rogue, rich geo-engineer. Well, that couldn't happen. Yeah, they say only a country could do it. Except, like, Richard Branson. Well, he's got the airline, just, you know, retrofit the airline a little bit. He's got the money. He just put the money into it and actually change the weather. Make it a fucking ice age for us. Thank you.
Around the clock.
I think it's very implausible that it would be done at large scale by a single person, a gold figure.
Except Richard Branson,
But, says Keith, countries could certainly do it. And if temperatures keep rising, some might ask, why not? Risks be damned.
The big risks of this technology fundamentally aren't technical. They're political. They're the risks of how it gets used.
So that's why we don't talk about it.
They're the basic question of how we
just do whatever we want and hope that people don't notice.
Many different countries and many different interests, and it's really cheap.
Senator Pell said this is
with emissions rising,
the most powerful weapon ever made, and that was 40 years ago. 1975, he said that.
They think geoengineering could become a desperation fallback. Consider the latest call for action from Pope Francis.
This home of ours is being ruined, and that damages everyone, especially the poor.
In his recent encyclical, the Pope made the moral case for reducing the use of fossil fuels and for rethinking current definitions of economic growth. Scientist Keith agrees.
Even if I knew that stopping climate change would make the world on average a few percent poorer in 2100, I'd still be in favor of stopping climate change. And that's because I want to leave future generations with a chance to enjoy the natural world more as I do. And that is fundamentally an ethical or moral or naturalistic view about the world that isn't easily captured in the equations of economists.
Now, this was once a red cedar. Who cares?
But Weitzman thinks there's an economic case for climate action, too.
This guy's got the funniest clips.
The benefits to society
because he lost like a foot of his beautiful house in Gloucester, Mass. I'll post the
Meanwhile,
whole video
the
too, so you
costs
can
of
listen to him bitch
inaction
and moan about
seem to be inching ever
losing a bit
closer
of his
to home.
property.
So here is a wooden walkway that has been lifted up by high tides that will come over it. That took a while to develop, this curve, due to the pushing up of the water and the higher level of water.
So you mean this was flat before?
Yes, yes, when it was constructed, it was flat.
You should have made
Careful.
it bigger.
It
Careful.
isn't anymore.
Falls over.
This is economics correspondent Paul Solman
fuck it
reporting
is.
for the
I'm gonna
PBS
post the whole
NewsHour
thing, maybe,
from
but-
Gloucester, Massachusetts.
With or without commentary.